Yep, we're on here.
Okay, so thanks for meeting with us. If you would tell us your name and your position here at the fire department.
Okay, my name is David Kennedy, and I'm the Chief of Safety and Training at the rank of Battalion Chief.
And then you were with the city of Mountain Brook on September 11th, 2001. What was your position at that time?
At that time, I was a firefighter. I was assigned to the ladder truck here at Station 1.
That's awesome. Okay, so if you would tell us where you were September 11th, how you heard about the attacks, and just kind of set the scene for us.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so on September 10th, I was assigned to work here, and firefighters work a 24-hour shift. So we begin at 7 a.m. in the morning, and we get off at 7 a.m. the next day, which then, we're off for 48 hours. So we work one whole day of 24 hours and off 2 days of 48 hours. So I was assigned to work on the 10th, which meant I would not get off work till 7 a.m. on September 11th. So, yeah, we generally, when we're about to swap shifts, the crew leaves for that day and the next crew's coming on. We're all having coffee around the kitchen table. And that's, where the TV's on, you're having conversations, and then, all of a sudden, that's about when, because it's 7 a.m. our time central, which, New York being an hour ahead of us and all. So the timing was just falling right into that time frame where we see the airplane crash into the first hour. So, and there's been mornings, I had about 8 years on at that time, in 2001, have about 29 and a half years now, but, so, we have seen things that happen on the news, and, you go about your business, you say, oh, and some things are a concern if it's with the weather or whatever. At the time with that initially happening, we just thought it was a terrible accident of an airplane crashing into a building, which has happened before, not on that scale. Smaller planes have crashed into buildings, helicopters into buildings and stuff. So, there was a discussion and concern, but, things were not beginning to unfold hey, this was a plot, this was a plan. What else could be happening regarding our safety? So, I guess, essentially what I did, I left that morning, and everyone should always remember, that was of age at that time, for the most part, what you were doing and what happened. I would think, I know, I knew it from the beginning of when, after I continued telling you the story, I knew it would be a big deal.
Yeah.
I had a dentist appointment straight out. I always like to get it done early if I'm getting off, not something in the middle of the day. And so I had a dentist appointment. Went straight over to Hoover. So left Mountain Brook Station 1, went over to Hoover. The first person who see them, and they clean my teeth and all, which doesn't take long and stuff. And then the dentist comes in. He gives you a 10 or 15-minute checkup. Never forget, Dr. Powell was my dentist, big Alabama fan. Me and him talk, and we're talking. And of course, like most dentist office, they have a small TV up there, and it's facing the patient. And we're talking, and he's checking me out and stuff. And the second airplane goes into the second tower, and I was like, ooh, I'm thinking, wow, that's not an accident.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, can we finish this up? So, yeah, he, by that time, he's turning around looking at it, and I'm asking him, hey, can we finish this up? Because, I know something bigger is going on instantly. I'm starting to read the headlines coming along the bottom of the TV, and all kinds of stuff starting to come across. We're being attacked, it could be a war, and stuff. And so, yeah, I asked him again. I said, hey, I'm going to have to leave. So he finishes me up, and I called back at the station, and they didn't need any help. They said if something does happen, we'll be on the call, and they would call us. So my next concern, because that's creating a lot of anxiety. You don't know what's coming next, how much worse it could be. So you know, you have to remember this was in 2001, and even though we had TV, we didn't have a lot of social media. So, you know, I can remember having the radio on and you're trying to get any information off the car radio and stuff. But my next concern was just my family, which I was single at the time. But, you know, so I'm making phone calls to my sister, to my mother and father, you know, I'm calling cousins, I'm calling anyone that I might think might not know what's happening, you know, because some people could have been at work and not having access to radio or TV. So, you know, I'm making all those calls, telling them, hey, something's bigger going on here. You know, I remember warning them. I wouldn't be out in large public areas, in shopping malls. Trying to stay safe, stay isolated. You know, let's figure out what's going on. And I just went home and started trying to, you know, turn on TV and just gather as much information as I can.
Yeah.
That's just how that transpired, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget being so uncomfortable all of a sudden in the dentist chair and having to ask, you know, hey, I've got to go. Can you wrap this up?
Yeah.
Never forget it.
What about the immediate aftermath at the fire department? Do you no, not immediate that day, but do you remember? Was there discussion in the next couple of days about the impact, especially in New York City, where so many firefighters were killed?
Yeah, there was. You know, we were trying to just plan on being, if there was any other further attacks in the coming days, we were trying to do our best. But you know, you can't just guess of everything that might happen. So we were just trying to be aware, visually aware of our surroundings, strangers, people, and just trying to stay as safe as we can. So just being on high alert, really. But some of the discussions, because we had some people at the time that actually ended up being activated and going up there, we had some people on our national disaster teams. We had a Lieutenant Donna Mason-Smith that went up there. We had a deputy chief at the time, Cliff Carlisle, that went up there, and then we had a firefighter went up there that's currently a lieutenant with us, Lieutenant Eric Meyer, that went up there. We had another firefighter that didn't go up there on our behalf or with our release. He worked part-time with another fire department and kind of used his time off from here and went up there to help because they, you know, everyone knew they were going to need a lot of help nationally for the national disaster teams. The state disaster teams, they wouldn't have enough people in the state of New York to handle that. So Lieutenant Eric Meyer is still a lieutenant with us. Lieutenant Donna Mason-Smith has retired from us. We see her occasionally. And Deputy Chief Cliff Carlisle has since passed away.
I did talk to Donna, or we emailed back and forth, so I'm going to talk to her, hopefully in person, but maybe Zoom or something. What about the impact of September 11th on your job specifically? Like, did your job change, or did it have an impact on the way you would carry out your job or anything like that? Or do you think it was more just as far as morale and like a personal change, I guess?
Well, my job, I guess, looking back, it didn't really change. Besides, you know, us just trying to be more aware of our surroundings. Almost, I guess you would say, when you're trying to be more aware of your surroundings, you're actually less trustworthy of people, you know, that are strangers. So, you know, just trying to be safe and alert is really all that changed that I can remember with my job specifically. It made me a whole lot more aware when I was away and off work. I probably, I guess, thinking about that question, felt more safe while I was at work here in Mountain Brook at the fire station, you know, than just when you're out in your normal life off. Because, you know, you have to go to large shopping malls. You know, you're going to be at the Alabama games in large stadiums, and that's what they were warning about. You know, large groups. You know, I remember those warnings coming out. A good next plan of attack is where a lot of people congregate at one place. So I remember trying to be aware of that, but you still want to live your life too. You hate for that to be robbed from you because, you know, if they win, you know, that's another way they can win.
Yep.
It's by robbing you of your freedoms and your democracy and stuff. So I just remember being careful, watchful, and apprehensive, but I still carried on my life, you know, as free as I wanted to. It never really held me back from what I remember.
So are the events of September 11th something that come up among the people who work here? Like you showed us the I don't know, the door wedge. Yeah, and I know that there's a flag here. I think somebody brought back. Is that something that comes up? Is that something that y'all talk about?
You know, we did for a long time. Yeah, I got to say, probably as time passes with anything, you know, the memories can tend to fade, and some of the talk tends to fade. In training that we go to, we send people to that I go to either regionally or even nationally yearly, because we have to continually train. Some of those training objectives are still focused on what happened on 9/11. For instance, we have sent and continue to send people to high-rise operations.
Yeah.
So, because fighting fire and saving lives in a high-rise situation is a lot different than a one-story residential here or a two-story residential here in Mountain Brook. It's a big difference. There's a whole lot more going on with the elevators, the stairways, a lot more people, a lot more floors. It's a multi.
I remember reading in one of the books that the firefighters who arrived sort of first on the scene realized they didn't have enough length of rope, or of the fire hose. You know, there was no way.
Right. Yeah.
And also did not realize that jet fuel burns so hot that they couldn't land a helicopter. Like, I didn't know that. And,
that's right. Yeah.
you know, there was no way they could get those people on the roof because it was too hot. And,
That's right. That's correct.
so I mean, it's those details that make it tragic, but also, you know, gosh, I mean, that's a big impact. Tell us, what would you want to say to people about September 11th? What would you want them to know or to remember or to carry with them?
Well, you know, never forget it, first of all. You know, we hate for something like that to happen again. I don't know what I could say about them carrying with them. You know, still things that's happened after that, I guess, if I'm, you know, remembering things, is a lot of people are afraid to speak up and say something. They can see something's wrong or something's amiss. People probably always want to tend, I think it's human nature, personally, want to be kind. They always want to help. You know, if somebody asks, if a human asks another human, generally, overwhelmingly, I think they're going to help. But so I think that leads to, though, you never want to complain about something or raise a red flag about something. But you know what? That's what saves a lot of people and a lot of lives sometimes. And I don't know if anybody before that saw something about, you know, maybe on one of the planes they did it, you know. But you just have to have the courage to say something, not feel so bad about it, because your thoughts could be wrong, but it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But your thoughts could save a life or 1,000 lives. So I think just be aware, you know, and you know, if something's really amuck and you're feeling it in your gut, sometimes that feeling's right. It's telling you something to speak up, bring it to an authority figure. You know, whether it's a policeman, fireman, security guard, anything to try and get their opinion and then kick it up a notch of, hey, somebody needs to ask some questions real quick you know, and see what's going on. That's probably about all I can really say about that.
I mean, it's a good point.
Would you say a little something just about our 9/11 memorial that we have here, just what that means to you and what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me. I think any firefighter here, or any firefighter in general, they have to tell you it means a lot. Every time I walk by it, I touch it. I lay my hand on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear the metal. It's it's quite impressive to have here. Not a lot of cities across the United States have that. I wish I had that number for you. Chief Mullins may, but it's rare that we have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so special that we have it. Wish a lot of other people knew we had it. Yeah, that piece of steel, that beam means a lot to me. You know, early on while we had it, we took great care of it because for years, quite regular, you had to have a torch and beeswax.
Mm-hmm.
And in the metal bucket, you melt the beeswax, and with the paintbrush, you coat the steel.
Mm-hmm.
And another guy had the heat torch on the steel.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be heating a piece of steel, you know, of course this is a big piece of steel, you'd be doing a section, heating it up, which opened up the pores of the steel.
Mm-hmm.
Just like hot water would
Mhm.
your skin pores, and then cold water closes it up, you know.
Was that so
it's
it wouldn't
taking
rust?
that- Yeah, so it wouldn't rust. Yeah, it puts that nice coat on there, that
Mhm.
nice patina, and so it don't rust. And we still do it. We had to do it quite regular early on.
Mm-hmm.
We still do it. I don't really remember how many times a year now. It may be only like 3 times a year now,
Mhm.
because it's got so much coating on it now.
Mhm.
To take care of it, so it wouldn't rust, because we cared about it. We wouldn't want an orange piece of rust out there.
Yeah.
You know, so we took great care of it. Still do. It just means a lot. You know, that represents instantly that day 343 firefighters died when those 2 towers came down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more citizens died. Police officers, Port Authority officers died that day. I don't have those figures. I know, being a fire department, 343 firefighters that day. To this day, firefighters and all the other citizens, police officers, Port Authority officers still are dying because of what they inhaled.
Mm-hmm.
So it's created lung disease, COPD. There's been a lot of deaths, from suicide.
Mm-hmm.
There still is,
Mm-hmm.
because the rescuers had to rescue the rescuers, their
Mhm.
buddies, and just and people in general. So there's been a lot of, and we actually in our department we have 2 peer support people that one's Lieutenant Lee Curry and one's driver for us, apparatus operator Derek Toxey. They're part of the peer support group for the state of Alabama. And they travel and they talk to when
They go to Miami?
when there's big things that happen.
Yeah.
No, they were not involved with that, but they were ready
But that's
to.
the kind of.
Yeah, Hoover actually, Hoover had 2 people they sent down
Mhm.
there. So it depends on, it's a coordinated effort. One thing you don't want to do if you're a rescuer going up there, or even if something happened now in severe sport, you don't want to self-deploy.
Mhm.
Self-deploy creates a lot of issues. You get down there, the city that's having a disaster isn't prepared for you. They don't have nowhere for you to shelter. They don't have enough food for you. Logistically, they've got a plan. You can call and offer your services, and they can call you back. But so anyway, our 2 guys have helped, have been to major disasters or great loss where the first responders themselves, whether police or fire, are struggling and having issues.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to talk and help those rescuers, firefighters process through,
Mhm.
get back on the normal fall pattern.
Yeah.
So,
Because I think on September 11th, it was whole companies that lost everybody.
That's
in
right.
there. Yeah. I remember reading that some folks went from being a firefighter to being a chief because there was nobody in between to take that position. Like
Right.
they just leapfrogged because
yes.
there was no one there,
Yeah,
and
there was.
that's devastating.
Yeah, that was devastating because all 343 of those firefighters were from, the New York Fire Department.
Right there,
Fire
yeah.
Department of New York. So, it created, a lot of voids there.
Mhm.
They lost a lot of, expertise and experience. And that can hurt.
Mhm.
That can hurt an organization, like the fire department. So, yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so.
Well, great.
Thanks
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
You're
We
welcome.
really, really appreciate you.
You're welcome.